Imagine a small fire flickering in the vast darkness of a prehistoric night. A small group of early humans huddles close, their faces illuminated by the warm, dancing flames. They are sharing food, perhaps the successful result of a long day's hunt. Their eyes, bright with a new kind of intelligence, reflect the light. This simple, powerful scene marks a pivotal moment in a journey of immense scale, a journey that spans hundreds of thousands of years. It is a story of transformation, of adaptation, and of incredible endurance. It is the story of how our ancestors, step by painstaking step, walked out of the deep past and into the world we know today. This is the story of how we, Homo sapiens, became us. This grand narrative is not one of a single straight line but a branching tree with many different kinds of humans living at different times and sometimes even at the same time. We will begin our trek with a remarkable ancestor who first stood fully upright and dared to tame the power of fire. From there we will witness the gradual growth of the brain, the refinement of tools, and the development of complex social bonds. We will meet our famous cousins who thrived in the harsh cold of the ice ages. The freedom gained by walking on two legs opened up a world of possibilities for using hands. The control of fire did not just provide warmth, it revolutionized diet, safety, and social life. The slow expansion of the brain allowed for better planning, more complex communication, and eventually the birth of language and art. So let us begin this walk through time. Let us leave the familiar world of today and step into a much older one. We will explore the skills and struggles of those who came before us. By exploring their world, we will come to better understand our own and the deep, ancient roots that connect every single one of us as part of one sprawling, incredible human family. The fire is lit, the path is before us, and the long journey has begun. Long, long ago in the vast landscapes of Africa, a new kind of human walked the earth. We call this ancestor Homo erectus. The name means upright human. It captures their most revolutionary trait. They stood tall and walked consistently on 2 feet. This way of moving, known as bipedalism, was a game changer. It freed their hands from the work of locomotion. Their signature was the Acheulean hand axe, a teardrop-shaped stone, flaked on both sides to form a sharp edge. Not just a rock, a multi-purpose gadget of the ancient world, it could be used to butcher large animals, scrape meat from bone, and crack bones for marrow. Perhaps the most significant innovation was control of fire. Learning to harness fire was like gaining a superpower. Fire gave them light in the darkness and a shield of warmth at night. Fire transformed their diet. Cooking made food softer, easier to chew, and far easier to digest. That extra energy fueled bigger bodies and energy-hungry brains. Fire changed social life. The hearth became the first living room. Around the campfire, groups gathered. They shared food, mended tools, and maybe communicated with gestures and simple sounds. Bonds were strengthened. Teamwork for hunting and defense was solidified in the fire's warmth. Homo erectus wasn't just surviving. They were learning to live together in more organized, cooperative ways. As the millennia passed, a new form of human evolved, likely from populations of Homo erectus. We call this group Homo heidelbergensis, named after a jawbone found near Heidelberg, Germany. These humans represented the next major step in our evolutionary story. The most noticeable change was inside their skulls. Their brains were significantly larger than those of Homo erectus, approaching the size of modern human brains. This increase in brain volume was not just about size, it signaled a major expansion in cognitive abilities. Homo heidelbergensis were sophisticated hunters. They created more refined tools than their predecessors, including beautifully crafted wooden spears. A set of these spears, discovered in Schöningen, Germany, are some of the oldest and best preserved wooden hunting weapons ever found. They were perfectly balanced for throwing, indicating that these humans were actively and cooperatively hunting large, fast, and dangerous animals. Beyond their hunting prowess, there is compelling evidence that Homo heidelbergensis had a deeper social and emotional life. In a cave system in Spain known as Cima de los Huesos, or the Pit of Bones, archaeologists found the remains of at least 28 individuals. The fact that so many bodies were intentionally placed in this deep, hard-to-reach chamber has led many scientists to believe it may represent one of the earliest known examples of ritualistic behavior. They may have been deliberately disposing of their dead in a special place, suggesting a growing awareness of life and death, and perhaps even the beginnings of respect for their departed group members. This growing social complexity also points toward the importance of sharing and caring within the group. To successfully raise children with larger brains, who required a longer period of helplessness and development, a strong support network was essential. There is even evidence of individuals surviving for years with severe injuries, which would have been impossible without the long-term care of their companions. To bring down a large animal and ensure everyone got a portion, sharing was not just a nice gesture, but a vital survival strategy. Homo heidelbergensis was laying the social and cognitive groundwork from which later humans, including ourselves, would emerge. Cousins in the cold, Neanderthals and Denisovans. From populations of Homo heidelbergensis that had spread into Europe and Asia, two distinct and fascinating groups of human cousins evolved. The most famous of these are the Neanderthals. They were supremely adapted to the cold, harsh climates of Ice Age Europe and the Middle East. Their bodies were shorter and stockier than ours, a build that is excellent for conserving body heat. They had broad chests, powerful limbs, a distinctive facial structure with a prominent brow ridge, and a large nose, which may have helped to warm and moisten the frigid, dry air they breathed. They were not brutish cavemen, but intelligent and resilient survivors of a challenging world. Neanderthals possessed a sophisticated culture and toolkit. They mastered the art of making fire and used it consistently. Their stone tools, known as the Mousterian industry, were a significant advance. They even developed an early form of industrial adhesive, using birch bark tar to glue stone points onto wooden shafts to create deadly composite spears. While Neanderthals are well known from a rich fossil record, our other cousins, the Denisovans, are far more mysterious. Our knowledge of them comes from just a few tiny bone fragments and teeth discovered in a single cave in the Altai Mountains of Siberia. However, scientists were able to extract ancient DNA from these fragments, and what they found was astonishing. This DNA belonged to a population that was genetically distinct from both Neanderthals and modern humans. The genetic evidence suggests that Denisovans were widespread across Asia, adapting to diverse environments from the cold mountains of Siberia to the high-altitude plateau of Tibet. Both Neanderthals and Denisovans showed signs of symbolic thought and culture. Neanderthals deliberately buried their dead, sometimes with grave goods. They used pigments like red ochre, possibly for body painting. They created simple jewelry from eagle talons and shells. A bone fragment found with Denisovan remains was identified as a piece of a beautiful and intricately carved tiara made from mammoth ivory. These behaviors show that the capacity for art, for ritual, and for thinking beyond the immediate needs of survival was not unique to our own direct lineage. Our cousins had rich inner lives of their own. The wise human emerges, Homo sapiens. While our cousins were thriving in the colder climes of Eurasia, a new kind of human was evolving back in the warm heartlands of Africa. This was our own species, Homo sapiens, a name that proudly means wise human. Physically, we were different. We had lighter, more slender bodies compared to the robust Neanderthals. Our faces were flatter with a more prominent chin and a high, rounded skull that housed a distinctly globular brain. This different brain shape, rather than just its size, may have been key to our success. It suggests a reorganization of neural circuits, possibly enhancing the variabilities that would come to define us. Creativity, complex language, long-range planning. The true superpower of early Homo sapiens was our mind's incredible flexibility. We were master innovators, capable of developing a vast and diverse array of tools and technologies. We created smaller, more precise stone blades known as microliths that could be fitted into shafts to make arrows, harpoons, and other composite tools. We learned to work with new materials, crafting sharp spear points from bone, antler, and, crucially, inventing the bone needle. This tiny invention allowed for the sewing of tailored, close-fitting clothing, a critical advantage for surviving in colder climates. Perhaps the most profound difference was the development of fully modern, complex language. While other humans likely communicated, Homo sapiens developed a system of unprecedented power. With a rich vocabulary and grammatical structure, we could share vast amounts of information with incredible precision. Most importantly, we could talk about things that did not exist: the past, the future, spirits, tribal identities, and shared myths. This ability to create and believe in stories allowed us to cooperate in huge numbers, far beyond the small family-based groups of other human species. This cognitive revolution sparked an explosion of creativity and symbolic expression. Across Africa and later the world, Homo sapiens began to leave their mark. Most spectacularly, we crawled deep into dark caves and by the flickering light of animal fat lamps painted the walls with breathtaking murals of horses, bison, mammoths. This art was not just decoration, it was a way of recording knowledge, performing rituals, telling stories, and connecting with the spiritual world. It was the sign of a mind that could imagine, dream, and share its inner world with others. Meetings, mixing, and moving out. As populations of Homo sapiens grew in Africa, they began to do what humans have always done. They moved. In a series of waves over tens of thousands of years, our ancestors migrated out of Africa into the wider world. Not a single expedition, but a slow generational expansion. Groups budded off, exploring the next valley, exploring the next coastline. They followed rivers, hugged ancient shorelines, tracked migratory herds. First they reached the Middle East, a crossroads where they had their first significant encounters with Neanderthals. These encounters weren't always violent. Archaeological and genetic evidence tells a more intimate story. We met, we interacted, we had children together. This interbreeding wasn't rare. Today, most people outside sub-Saharan Africa carry 1 to 2% Neanderthal DNA. That DNA is a living record. As they moved into Asia and Oceania, they met Denisovans. Melanesia, Papua New Guinea, and Aboriginal Australia carry significant Denisovan ancestry. The global journey was an epic feat of adaptation. They faced deserts, Sahara, Arabia, and towering mountain ranges of Asia. Ice ages brought huge glaciers, sea levels were much lower, connecting lands now underwater. To reach Australia, they must have built boats or rafts, undertaking the world's first open-water voyages. Later, they crossed the Bering Land Bridge from Siberia into the Americas, rapidly populating 2 continents. In every new place they learned, adapted, survived. What gave Homo sapiens an edge? It was likely a combination of factors. A more diverse toolkit, projectile weapons, spear throwers, bow and arrow. Larger social networks, trade, symbolic alliances. Complex language sped transmission of knowledge and adaptation. Over time, for debated reasons, climate change, direct competition, assimilation, Neanderthals and Denisovans faded. But they did not vanish completely. A part of them lives on within us. One human family, our shared past and future. When we look back at this immense journey from the first upright steps of Homo erectus to the global presence of Homo sapiens, we see a story of shared struggle and shared success. The traits we think of as uniquely human were not born overnight with our species. They were built up slowly, layer by layer, over hundreds of thousands of years. We carry the legacy of Homo erectus in our ability to walk long distances and in our ancient connection to the hearth fire. We inherited the potential for bigger brains and deeper social care from ancestors like Homo heidelbergensis. We even carry the genetic echoes of our Neanderthal and Denisovan cousins, a tangible reminder that we are all part of a single, interwoven family tree. The success of our species was not based on brute strength but on cooperation, creativity, and communication. We learned to share food and to care for the vulnerable. We developed language to share ideas, myths, and complex plans. We created art to share our inner worlds and build collective identities. We formed vast social networks that allowed us to trade resources and support one another through difficult times. These are the skills that allowed a small African primate to eventually walk on the moon. They are the core of our humanity, forged in the crucible of prehistoric survival and passed down through countless generations. Reflecting on this deep history offers us a profound sense of perspective. For the vast majority of our existence, we were a rare and vulnerable species living in small groups, dependent on our wits and on each other. The divisions that seem so important to us today, of nation, race, or creed, are incredibly recent and shallow when set against the deep time of our shared ancestry. The DNA of any 2 people on Earth is remarkably similar, a testament to our recent origins from a small founding population in Africa. Our story is not one of separate paths, but of one long road that we have all walked together. Our evolutionary journey is not over, but its challenges have changed. The world we have built is a world of cities, technology, and global connection. The ancient skills of cooperation and long-term planning are more critical now than ever before. We face challenges on a planetary scale, from climate change to preserving biodiversity. Our story teaches us that we are at our best when we work together, when we care for our group, and when we use our unique minds to imagine and create a better future. The fire that our ancestors first lit is now in our hands. It is our shared responsibility to tend it wisely, to use its light to see each other clearly, and to ensure its warmth reaches every member of our one human family.